Thank you, everyone, and good morning, Fiji, and welcome to the members of the media. We've had an extremely hectic 2 weeks during which we farewelled Justice Jairam Reddy, one of Fiji's greatest leaders of his time. And we had this farewell and memorial service both in Auckland and Fiji. So it is now time to talk about issues that we didn't have time to either respond to or highlight. But before we do that, the NFP wishes to salute our Rugby Sevens gladiators for the historic achievements in Cape Town, South Africa. They have etched Fiji's name in Sevens history in indelible ink by winning the coveted Melrose Cup for the third time. More importantly, they have placed Fiji firmly in the annals of Sevens history by becoming the first and only team to hold both the title of Olympic and World Champions at the same time. They have filled us all with inspiration and hope. Any person with Fiji in their blood, regardless of where they live, will remember this historic achievement. Our Sevens heroes have done Fiji immensely proud. They have brought Fiji together at a time when we sorely need it. Just a while ago, we received an invitation from the Prime Minister's office for a national celebration at 12. And I want to wish the whole team and everyone joining that celebration our very best. My friends, let me get onto the FijiFirst government now. The FijiFirst government, as most people in this country know, is tired, bankrupt, and broken. They are getting more and more desperate as they try to cling to power. They are passing restrictive electoral laws like Bill 49. They continue to create a climate of fear and division to win the election. They are hoping that people will be too afraid to vote them out. We have seen it twice now, in 2014 and 2018. They go out to campaign to get people's vote, throwing around government money. Then they just go back for the next 4 years to being the same arrogant and selfish government that they always have been. And we are saying to the people now, to all the people, just hold on and be strong. Soon you'll have your chance to vote them out so that we can get Fiji back to the road to national unity, democracy, and an end to fear and division in this country. I now turn to the politics, the petty politics and grandstanding of Aiyaz Sayed-Khaiyum, the Attorney General of Fiji, during his 9 September press conference at Level 9 Super Bowl House on Friday. And my friends, the term Level 9 has now got a special meaning to all of us in Fiji. It's the same place where the FijiFirst government, led by Aiyaz Sayed-Khaiyum, hid from the opposition and the whole country during the 2018 petition. In fact, it is now a national joke used to describe lying and covering up. his press conference, his press conference was supposed to be an update on the payout of $1 a day for 6 months, $180 for 6 months, called the $180 inflation mitigation package. But what he did, he spent more time attacking the National Federation Party and attacking me. Everybody in this country is just sick and tired of Aiyaz Sayed-Khaiyum's grandstanding and never-ending talking. In fact, we cannot wait for him to be gone. Firstly, Aiyaz Sayed-Khaiyum accused me of saying, and I quote, "Politicians can offer the moon, so what?" This is what he said. Politicians can offer the moon, so what? Unquote. This is a blatant lie. This is the problem with him. This is the problem with him. And this is what I said on Monday, 29th August in Parliament, and I quote the Hansard for that proceedings. Let me quote the Hansard for that proceedings. Yes, political parties offer the moon sometimes, but it is not for him or for the government or the supervisor of elections or someone in the Electoral Commission to ask and tell them how they are going to do it. It is for the people, whether they want to believe it or not. This is an example of a stupid law that this government has put in place to punish the opposition, unquote. That's exactly what I said. I was absolutely clear that it isn't for the Ministry of Economy, Supervisor of Elections and the Electoral Commission to judge promises and policies of political parties. Because there isn't a qualified independent body to make financial assessments of political parties, unlike in Australia, for example, they have the Parliamentary Budget Office, which will do the costing of manifestos of political parties and then leave it to the people to judge whether those policies and manifestos are believable or they like it or not. It is therefore important for us to understand it is for the voters to decide whether they accept or reject the policies. What this law implies is that the voters, in whose hands the fate of political parties in an election rests, aren't astute enough to be judges of facts or lies. In fact, I've always believed that this government thinks that our people are fools. Our people are not fools. And quite deliberately, the Fijian government Facebook page has Aiyaz Sayed-Khaiyum's comments from the 9th September press conference, spliced with an out-of-context quote. I just quoted it in full. Aiyaz Sayed-Khaiyum's political attack is actually a false statement contrary to his own electoral laws. To make it worse, it is on the government Facebook page, not the FijiFirst page. The government page is not a political party page. It is not the FijiFirst party page. It's a government page funded by the taxpayers of this country. But it is used by FijiFirst as an election platform. FijiFirst has decided to abuse all norms. This is very important. They have decided to abuse all norms, including taxpayers' funds, to do as they please, to hoodwink the voters. We have now, through our Secretary General, Seni Nambo, filed a complaint to the Supervisor of Elections about the misuse of government property for campaigning and electioneering. The Fijian government is not a registered political party. FijiFirst is. For now, it is the party in government. But government resources should work for the people. A government platform, be it social media, radio or television or whatever, funded by the taxpayers, must not promote those who lead the government or politicians in it. The ministers are all politicians. They're all out there campaigning. But now, it seems the taxpayers of this country are paying for the FijiFirst politicians to be promoted, including attacks on opposition parties. Why can't FijiFirst publish everything political on his own Facebook, as we do? Maybe because nobody is going there. Nobody is looking at the FijiFirst page. Why is it abusing taxpayers' funds? Only a government clutching at straws, ladies and gentlemen, would do that. But no one can expect transparency or accountability from this government. And some of you would remember that this government, which passes all laws under Standing Order 51 in a few days or even overnight, has done nothing about the Code of Conduct and Freedom of Information laws, which have been gathering dust for more than 3 years. There is no code of conduct governing how our leaders must behave. And also, there is no freedom of information legislation to allow people to have access to information on how the government works for them. And in the absence of the code of conduct, no accountability and transparency commission has been established, even though the Constitution requires it. Aiyaz Sayed-Khaiyum raved and ranted about political party donations. He does that all the time. He said the opposition was not being accountable. On all of this, let me just say one thing. His party, the FijiFirst party, has millions of dollars in the bank. And we know how it gets that money. We know that. It calls business people to meetings in certain private homes. It then demands that they give tens of thousands of dollars in the names of family members of those business people. And of course, business people pay up. They are too afraid to say no. And we know some of them. They come and tell us. Now, of course, the government has changed the law, so these donor lists are no longer public. The other point that Aiyaz Sayed-Khaiyum claimed, or also claims, that I made accusations about boat rigging in 2018. He has challenged me to give details. Again, he's got it wrong. He's really got it wrong. Sometimes I wonder, whether if he's sitting in Parliament, listening to what the opposition and people like us say. He must be sometimes dreaming in Parliament if he is misquoting. And I quote from what I said in Parliament. It is not me who talked about boat rigging. It is one of his own party members, one of his own MPs who talked about it. Of course, I'm not going to tell him which MP said it. I'm waiting for that MP to tell us more. They might reveal more. But let me say to Aiyaz Sayed-Khaiyum, if he wants to know more about it, he should ask some of his silent 25 members of parliament and do his own investigation inside his own parliamentary office. Aiyaz Sayed-Khaiyum also made some reference on 9 September with respect to the Constitution Day. And in fact, he berated me for my comment on Constitution Day holiday, where I asked, what is there to celebrate about the imposed 2013 Constitution? A very legitimate question. He basically labeled me as a hypocrite, saying I had taken an oath as an MP under the very same constitution. But let me remind him of history, because I know he deliberately ignores that. When 14 members of NFP entered Parliament in 1992 under the unjust 1990 Constitution, each one of them took oath and or affirmation under the very same Constitution, because that was the Constitution under which the election was held, and if you are going to Parliament, you have to take an affirmation and oath. And that's what they did. And taking an oath did not prevent them from criticizing or seeking changes to the 1990 Constitution, because that was the sole objective of the National Federation Party going into the 1992 and 94 election to seek changes to the Constitution. And one of those MPs was his own father. Did that make him a hypocrite? Of course not. He was there to secure constitutional change. So are we. We are not the people who imposed the 2013 Constitution on the people of Fiji by a decree. We are not the people who traced the High Commission report in 2012. That is the FijiFirst Party. 30 years after 1992, we are doing what our predecessors did. We always opposed the 2013 Constitution because it was imposed. There are many things in that Constitution which are undemocratic, which preserves the draconian decrees that were put in place by the military government. Finally, Aiyaz Sayed-Khaiyum goes further in his press conference on the 9th of September and said, he's got a habit of making this personal attack. He uses, government platform. He goes there, calls the media, for something else, and then uses that opportunity to attack the opposition. He said, I wasn't fit to be compared to NFP's former leaders. Let me say this to him. I would never claim that I can ever fill the shoes of A.D. Patel, S.M. Koya, Harish Sharma or Jairam Reddy. But I and everybody else in the party, including our President, Honorable P.O. Tikonduandua, who leads the party as President, always subscribe to and uphold the principles and vision. We just farewelled and held a memorial for Justice Jairam Reddy, who brought glory and fame to Fiji as a United Nations judge for 5 years. A.D. Patel's achievement for cane growers is still relevant in the form of Denning Award, incorporated in the Master Award. Mr. Koya's vision of an elected body for cane growers, the Sugar Cane Growers Council, of which he was the first chairman, has been destroyed by Aiyaz Sayed-Khaiyum's government, or the FijiFirst government. He doesn't say all that. Mr. Harish Sharma's just last Saturday spoke virtually at Justice Jairam Reddy's memorial. Despite being deposed as Deputy Prime Minister in the NFP FLP government in 1987, Mr. Sharma was has wholeheartedly, right from the beginning, endorsed NFP's post-election coalition in government with Mr. Sitibeni Rambuka and the People's Alliance Party. These leaders were giants of their time in their ability, understanding, and perception of the problems facing Fiji. We can recall their speeches, their actions, their sacrifices and contributions for all the people of Fiji. But ladies and gentlemen, just compare them to the small-minded, petty, vindictive people who are in government today, including Mr. Aiyaz Sayed-Khaiyum. I cannot think of one thing for which he and some of the others there will be remembered in history, except for his pettiness and politicking, which he continues to do. I don't think I need to say more. Finally, I want to say to the people of Fiji, this is my message to the people of Fiji. Please stay strong until we get rid of this government. We have united with the People's Alliance to bring to the people of Fiji a new government. That new government has as its first aim and objective to end the division and the fear that is all around our country. And people are feeling it, people are telling us, and people are fed up with the fear and division. We know, and many people out there in this country know, that the FijiFirst party will do anything. They will do anything to stay in power. They will do anything to stay in power. It will make new election laws so it can attack opposition political parties. It will throw around some freebies just before the election with taxpayers' money. But it has proven it cannot solve our deep national problems. We have always said that we want to bring the people together. We want to bring everyone together to solve these problems. We know what these problems are. These problems are high cost of living, disastrous health service delivery, ever in the history of this country, declining quality of education at all levels, the dying sugar industry, and our deepening government debt. We can't even keep the water on for hundreds of thousands of people. People are fed up with water cuts. We cannot deliver basic services in towns and cities. And all they do is sack people who could do some work there, Poverty is deepening. They want to ignore that. Thousands of our most skilled Fiji citizens are leaving. And as I said before, many of them are leaving because of bad governance. That is what they tell us, which is only going to make our problems worse. A good government can help us solve these problems. But a good government must first bring our people together and end the division. Ladies and gentlemen, we know that throughout the country, an overwhelming majority of our people are just fed up, sick and tired of this arrogant government. They desperately need a change. And therefore, all I ask you, if you haven't registered to vote, you must register to vote. And then you must turn out to vote. You must vote to reject this uncaring, uncompassionate government that cares only about staying in power. Thank you. I'll be happy to take some questions.
What is your reaction to the comments that were made by SODELPA party leader Gavoka and Tuiteci on that NFP, alluding that NFP wants to erode the rights of landowners?
But before I answer what Bill Gavoka said, who is this Tuiteci?
He's with SODELPA, sir.
He's with SODELPA. Honorable Pio Tukundundwa, do you know him? I think you were telling me about him, but anyway, we'll leave that for another day. I'm not sure what the leader of the SODELPA party, my friend Bill Gavoka, is going on about, because he obviously knows very clearly about the NFP's policies. He knows that what Hiroshi Taniguchi said was not NFP's policies. And so what he should have done was just picked up a phone and called me to clarify. But obviously, there seems to be an agenda, because when Mr. Gavoka talks about NFP, we know in NFP what we do, and we know when to take decisions. So that's very clear. But if you look at his own SODELPA party, if you look at his own member of parliament, Mosese Bulitabu, that man has defied him and SODELPA to vote with the government. He actually also voted for Bill 17. And Bill has not been able to do anything about him. So my advice to Bill would be to look at his own MPs, but also, now that I'm talking about Mosese Bulitabu, this is the man who made the most racist comment about Indian women. The Prime Minister brought a motion in Parliament. We supported that motion. And now they're all cheering him. They're all supporting him in Parliament, including Aiyaz Sayed-Khaiyum, because he now is with them, voting for them, talking about how good their policies are, how good their budget are. I mean, this shows the credibility of both Frank Bainimarama and Aiyaz Sayed-Khaiyum. Cheering a man who said those things. So my advice to Bill would be to not get too excited about PA and NFP. We have a very good partnership. We have a very good understanding of how we're going to run the next government, on what platform and what policies, and he will know. So my advice would be that he should not just read Fiji Sun and listen to what's being reported in the government, propaganda media outlets. He will be better off. But it also creates this perception. Maybe the SODELPA party and the FijiFirst party are working together. Maybe, there's something going on. I don't know. I mean, you have to, Rieta, you have to go and ask Bill Gavoka and Aiyaz Sayed-Khaiyum, because he's the de facto Prime Minister. You don't have to worry about the Prime Minister. Ask him whether FijiFirst and SODELPA are now working together, because they have members of the parliament, in cahoots. And Bill, as leader, has never said publicly, we don't disagree with Mosese Bulitabu. So, and this Johnny come lately, Tuiteci. I see something in the Fiji Sun today. I mean, this man has been, jumping from this party to another party, back to SODELPA again, and he is going on attacking the People's Alliance leader of some kind of, policy that he's got in his mind. And of course, Hiroshi gave them a little spark, and they think, this is something that we've got on NFP and PA, started by, the partner in crime, as one would say.
Seremaia from Fiji. So just in terms of your party, is it concerned that the recent comments by Hiroshi will divide your voters?
No, absolutely not, because everyone in the country knows, and as we've said, that those policies never will be NFP's policies. And as we explained in our statement very clearly, that when we announced the 33 candidates, we had a 2-day workshop here. We explained to them very clearly what the party's policies and platforms and some of the processes and what candidates should or should not do or say. And obviously, unfortunately, Hiroshi did the opposite, and the party had to take a decision, and we've taken that decision. And I think for us, that's the end of the matter. But the people are not that gullible. People understand NFP's history of working together, bringing together our people, NFP's history of working with the landowners, with the chiefs of this country, in finding solutions. And no one, no matter how much FBC and Fiji Sun, play this, because this is the agenda. This is the agenda, to bring disrepute to the party, create this fear, and who they are targeting, which section of the voters they are targeting. As soon as they get something, which is what they did in 2018. They spread all this fake news, their supporters. And they're still doing it now. So, but our people are smarter than what they think. Our people are not fools. Our people are not gullible. The people know what NFP stands for, and they understand our policies. We will be releasing our, vision and mission and objective of what we will do in government soon, as we know when the election is going to be held. And let me say this, Aiyaz Sayed-Khaiyum, this law that he's got this habit. He wants other political parties to put out their manifesto, so that, he can employ his whole, government machinery, do the costing, create his own views about, the budget, the revenue. Oh, these policies are not good. This is what he wants to do. He doesn't, he's got caught in his own game. He brought this law, hoping that, suddenly political parties will listen to him, his agenda, and put out a manifesto with costing, so that he can go around the country and say, this is not doable, this is not in relation to the revenue or the deficit, or this is like in 2018 when we said we're going to reduce VAT on 21 items, and we listed the items. Immediately I announced in Bunumono, they must have been working overnight. And next day they produced this huge, splash in the Fiji Sun, saying, oh, Biman, Prasad and NFP policy will cost this much, will take the debt to this level. And look what he did. He copied the same policies, copy and paste in the last budget. Minimum wages. Imagine if he had listened to us, what we were saying in 2018, how to increase the minimum wages in stages. people would have been better off today. People would have had more money in the FNPF. People's, purchasing power, income level would have been higher. Suddenly, he comes out and says, now we're going to have, because this is an election time, but those are policies that we said. 2014 election, we said the sugarcane price should be guaranteed at $85. Then they went to town and said, no, this is, Biman Prasad is trying to get votes of the sugarcane farmers. Then in 2018, before 2018 election, we released our policies much earlier. We said the price of sugarcane per ton should be guaranteed at $100. And then they quickly said, oh, we're going to guarantee $85. Took NFP's policies, which we said should have been done in 2000. So this man is far behind. He's far behind. We are looking ahead. We're looking at the future. We know, I know, as an economist, what is happening in this country with respect to people's income, with respect to people's ability to keep pace with the rising cost of living. He doesn't understand that. He doesn't understand that. So for him, it's all about election. It's all about election. When the election comes, then you look at this. That's what he's done, that's what he's doing now. And that's what he did on the 9th of September. I hope that answers your question.